Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we're going to be going over my picks for the top 10 luxury vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online in 2023. Vehicles on this list are going to be generally luxurious, nice interiors, nice looking vehicles, kind of classy looking vehicles, and a lot of them are also going to be four-seaters because that is something that comes with luxury, usually the ability to carry multiple people. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into it, starting off with number 10. First up on my list, we have the Enus Cognoscenti 55 coming in at just over $150,000. The Cognoscenti 55 is my favorite of the Cognoscenti vehicles. There's also the Cognoscenti Cabrio as well as the Cognoscenti LWB. The 55 is generally like a little bit more of a performance version of the long wheelbase edition of the Cognoscenti as well. This car is pretty cool. It is a four-door luxury vehicle. Obviously, it's an Enus car, and generally the Enus cars in GTA are quite luxurious. However, this is a little bit of an older one. I'd say that the Cognoscenti 55 is probably an earlier 2000s model of whatever car it's based on, which I believe is like a Bentley Mulsanne or something like that. This car does have a unique feature that a lot of cars in GTA don't have, and that is the windows on this car actually soundproof the vehicle a little bit. I'll let you guys hear this in just a second. As you'll be able to hear, this is what it sounds like outside of the car. And this is what it sounds like on the inside of the car. So that is something that's pretty cool about the Cognoscenti 55. Definitely a pretty good car, and for 150k, I don't think that you can go wrong with this one. Let's move on to a little bit more of an expensive car. Next up, we have the Dubachi Exemplar coming in at about $200,000. The Exemplar is a four-door version of the Dubachi Rapid GT or the Rapid GT convertible, except obviously this thing is not convertible. The Dubachi Exemplar is a pretty underrated luxury vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online, and beyond that, it's just a pretty underrated vehicle. You never see anybody driving an Exemplar. Honestly, I've probably seen people driving regular cars off of the street more so than I've seen people driving the Exemplar in my entire time in GTA. Now, it's not the best looking car, it's not the best performing car, but for being an OG car from 2013 that's a four-seater, this was probably one of the fastest four-seaters in the entire game at one point. It has pretty good handling, decent acceleration, sounds pretty good, and the top speed is alright as well. It's another car that you can steal right off of the street, except you cannot keep it in your garage, but you will see these things driving around on the streets, so if you want to test one out before buying it, simply steal one from somebody driving one and give it a shot. Anyways, that's it for the Exemplar at number 9. Let's move on to number 8. Next up at number 8, we have the Enus Super Diamond. This is pretty much a staple of GTA 5. You can see these things driving around on the streets in the more rich neighborhoods, I would say, very, very often. It's an extremely nice car, and for only 250k, it is not bad at all. I just kind of realized that I have low grip tires on mine because this thing is actually quite a drift car. You could drift this thing around really, really easily, and if you put low grips on it, it's super easy to slide. Even without low grips, it's very easy to slide as well, but that's not what we're talking about today. Obviously, this thing is based off of one of the big body Rolls Royces in real life. I would say a Phantom or a Ghost, but honestly, I always forget how the Rolls Royces work, so I'm just not going to speak on its real life counterpart. But what I can tell you is it is a very nice car to drive in GTA. It's surprisingly quick for being $250,000. Unfortunately, the interior is not super nice. It shares the same interior as the Cognoscenti 55 that we saw just a little bit ago on this list, which isn't a terrible interior, but it's also far from a nice one as well, I would say. Overall, for 250k, the Super Diamond is definitely a great luxury car in Grand Theft Auto Online. This is another one that you could steal off the street before you buy it just to test it for yourselves, because you will see these things driving around. Anyways, that's it for the Enus Super Diamond at number 8. Let's move on to number 7. Next up on our list, we have the Enus Super Diamond that was added with the Contract DLC. Now, I would have had this thing a little bit higher on my list if it wasn't for the fact that this thing has an absolutely unforgivable interior. I don't know what Rockstar was thinking when they made the interior on this thing, but it's literally the same interior as a Canis Seminole. I don't know what Rockstar was thinking. They could have at least given this the same interior as like the Cockhead D10 or even the same interior as the Super Diamond that we just went over a minute ago. Now the Jubilee is a little bit more on the expensive side. This thing goes for about $1.65 million, so it is going to cost you. However, you do get a pretty awesome SUV for that price. This thing is super fast. It's definitely the fastest car on this list so far, and it is a top 10 fastest SUV in Grand Theft Auto Online. It has great acceleration, a fantastic top speed. It is all-wheel drive, so off the line, it's very, very good, and its handling doesn't feel like it's a 6,000 pound SUV, so that's an added bonus on top of it all. It's got some good customization, and you can definitely make it look pretty great on the exterior of the vehicle, just not quite on the interior. Anyway guys, that's pretty much it for the Enos Jubilee at number 7. Let's move on to number 6. Next up at number 6, we have the Enos Windsor coming in at $845,000, which is a pretty bargain price for what you get with this car. Truly, I think this is one of the best luxury vehicles in the entire game. I think that it looks absolutely sick. And it is a two-door Rolls-Royce, which I think is pretty unique as well. This car has pretty good performance. The interior on this car is a little bit nicer than the Super Diamond, although it does share some of the same general characteristics, I would say. I think it still looks very good. The exterior of the car is also very nice looking, and you can apply some pretty unique liveries to this thing as well if you guys are interested in that. Overall, I think that this is one of the best looking luxury vehicles in the entire game, and it's one of the best two-door luxury vehicles by a long shot. The only reason that I put it this high on the list is because I have talked about this car in length over the years, and I feel like pretty much everybody knows the Enos Windsor at this point. So I really don't have too much more to say about this thing. It's a great car. You should definitely pick it up. The performance is pretty good on this thing. It's probably better than most of the other cars that are going to be on this list. And for 845 grand, I really don't think you can go wrong with it. Anyway guys, that's it for the Enos Windsor. Let's move on to number 5. Next up at number 5, for $1.6 million, we have the Ubermacht Revolter. This thing is absolutely crazy. The Ubermacht Revolter is one of the most interesting and kind of different cars in all of Grand Theft Auto Online. It has lightning fast acceleration, and it is all-wheel drive. The looks of the vehicle aren't that incredible, but it also has front-mounted machine guns that you can put on it as well, which is kind of odd. It is a 4-seater as well, so you can have some friends in here with you while you're driving this vehicle. And you will get to anywhere that you're trying to go in a hurry, because the Ubermacht Revolter might actually be the fastest car on this entire list. The acceleration on this car is pretty much unmatched by anything else that we've gone over so far, and pretty much anything that we're going to go over in future on this list. The Revolter is definitely an interesting car to pick up. You never see anybody driving these things, but honestly, I don't really know why. It has front-mounted machine guns, and it's super fast, and it looks really, really interesting. The Ubermacht Revolter is definitely an underrated one, definitely one to look into. This thing is great. The acceleration's fantastic, it has decent handling, and the top speed is alright as well. So, what's not to like about the Ubermacht Revolter? Check this thing out if you guys are interested. Let's move on to number 4. Next up, we have the Lampadati 5,000 coming in at just over $1.7 million. Now, this is another 4-door luxury vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online, and this thing is really, really cool. The interior on this thing is similar to the Enos Super Diamond, so nothing too special, I would say. However, this car does have a lot of customization that you can do to it to make it look a little bit more unique, and maybe even a little bit more luxurious. I've definitely made my car a little bit more aggressive than luxurious, but it's nice to have the ability to do either, and no matter what, I think that this is a pretty luxurious car. It is based pretty heavily off of the Maserati Ghibli in real life, which is a very luxurious and very unreliable car, but luxury comes at a cost, and the cost is your repair bill. But anyways, the Lampadati 5,000 sounds absolutely fantastic, and with all its customization, it is a great car. It's also one of the fastest sedans in all of Grand Theft Auto Online as well, so you're going to dominate on the racetrack in pure luxury with the Lampadati 5,000. So it's definitely a pretty cool car, definitely one that I would recommend picking up. This thing is pretty awesome. That's pretty much it for the 5,000 at number 4. Let's move on to number 3. Next up, we have the Enos Windsor Drop coming in at number 3 for $900,000. The Enos Windsor Drop is based off of the Rolls-Royce Boat Tail, I believe it is, which is pretty interesting. This thing definitely kind of looks like it could be a yacht if it just, well, wasn't a car. The interior on this vehicle is pretty nice, however, it's a little bit outdated, that's for sure. But it is a 4-door Rolls-Royce with a retractable roof, which I do think is pretty darn cool. I've got mine done in a dark blue as well as a galaxy blue, and I think that it looks pretty good. Now, unfortunately, the soft top convertible is probably the ugliest part of this entire car. I really wish that they just made it a hard top convertible, or that they just made it a hard top in general, but still, it is a pretty neat car. The Enus Windsor drop for 900 grand is honestly a pretty good price to pay because this thing is honestly pretty great. It's quite fast in a straight line, it has good acceleration, and it's kind of one of those cars that you can sort of drift a little bit in, which is kind of fun. Now, definitely not a very luxurious feature, the drifting ability, but it is cool to have nonetheless. I also wish that you could change the interior color on this car, but sadly you cannot, so that is very unfortunate. But for 900 grand, I honestly don't think that you can go wrong with the Enus Windsor drop. This thing is a solid staple of Grand Theft Auto Online. Pretty much everybody knows about this car, I think, at this point. It's definitely one to pick up if you guys are looking for a luxurious convertible. Anyway guys, that's pretty much it for the Enus Windsor drop. Let's move on to number 2. Next up at number 2, we have the Enus Deity coming in at $1.3 million if you have the trade price unlocked, and up to $1.8 million if you do not have the trade price unlocked. The Enus Deity is a great car that was also added with the contract DLC, similar to the Lampadati Cinquemila that we just talked about a few minutes ago. This car has Imani tech capabilities and a front-mounted machine gun that's also equipable on it, as well as armor, which is very cool. So overall, this thing is a very good kind of protective luxury vehicle. It's also got some good customization. And finally, we have an interior on a car that actually looks pretty good and pretty luxurious. I think the interior on this car works really, really well. It's nice and modern, and I think that it just generally looks pretty great. The Enus Deity is definitely one of the cooler sort of luxury sedans in Grand Theft Auto Online, and having the ability to put front-mounted machine guns on it and a missile lock-on jammer definitely helps it to be just that much better of a car. It's also quite fast, the acceleration is good once you start moving, the top speed's also quite high, and the handling is pretty decent. Overall, I'd say it's one of the better ones on this list so far. Pick up the Enus Deity if you guys are interested. This is definitely one that I would recommend 100%. It is at the top of the list, so obviously you know it's going to be a little bit better than some of the cars that were at the bottom. That's pretty much it for the Deity. Let's move on to the number 1 luxury vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online in 2023. And at number 1, of course, we have the Enus Paragon R coming in at $905,000. This is another 2-door luxury vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online, and this one is absolutely fantastic. It was added with the Casino DLC, and this is another car that shares the exact same interior as the Enus Deity, and more than that, you'll also notice that this thing shares pretty much the exact same front end as the Enus Deity as well. This is just kind of the 2-door version of the Deity, and I think that these two cars are the most luxurious cars in all of Grand Theft Auto Online. The reason that I picked the Paragon R to be at number 1 is because this thing combines performance and luxury very, very well. This is actually formerly a top 10 fastest sports car in Grand Theft Auto Online, so it is pretty darn quick. This vehicle is all-wheel drive, so it gets a pretty fantastic launch, and beyond that, the acceleration is quite good as well. The top speed is decent, and it has lots of customization that you can do to it to make it maybe more of a luxurious vehicle versus a performance vehicle. It really depends on what you want to do with it. And in true luxurious car fashion, this thing definitely feels very, very heavy around the corners. It does tend to have a little bit of understeer, I would say, but generally I think that it is pretty manageable. Overall, the Enus Paragon R, I would say, is the number 1 luxurious vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online in 2023. This thing is absolutely rock solid. I hope we get some more luxury vehicles this year, but we'll just have to wait and see. So for right now, that's it for the Enus Paragon R, and that is it for your number 1 luxury vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online. So there you have it, guys. That's been it for the top 10 luxury vehicles in Grand Theft Auto Online in 2023. Let me know what you thought of my list in the comments down below. Comment any other cars that you thought should have been on this list, or maybe should be on a future luxury vehicles list. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, dislike if you didn't, of course. Subscribe to the channel if you are new, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.